would like to jump to the third one. And this is Xavier Leclerc from Broadpeak and Robin Oakley from DAZN. They're going to talk about their collaboration that they're doing together.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I think I'm starting this one off. So I'm Robin Oakley. I'm VP of Distribution Engineering at DAZN. And for anyone that doesn't know what DAZN do, we're a global OTT sports broadcaster. And I think, to give a scale of that, last year we streamed over 27,000 live events and something like 1 billion hours of video content. So best part of 200 companies, and my team's role in all that is to manage the distribution systems that get that content between the origin and the playback devices and ensure that the viewers are getting a great playback experience. Our key territories out of those 200 are places like Germany, Spain, Japan and Italy. I mean, and Italy features in the case study here, so more on that in a bit, but first I'll let Xavier introduce himself as the Broadpeak part.
Very good, thank you, Robin. So my name is Xavier. I run business development here at Broadpeak. In a nutshell, Broadpeak, we provide video delivery solutions from origin packages to content delivery. We work with mostly network operators today, so the likes of Orange, Deutsche Telekom, America Movil, but also with content providers, right? The likes of HBO, some national broadcasters as well. And today we're going to talk about an interesting collaboration, like Robin mentioned, with DAZN, where some of our technology is being used to deliver live streaming at scale. So hopefully you can see my screen. I'm going to try and change the slide here. So this is the story we want to share with you today. This is one of the deployment of some of our technology called multicast ABR. It's deployed on an operator network, right? So this is Telecom Italia in Italy that decided to deploy this technology to feed basically the next generation of set-top box with live streaming video. Okay, maybe just 2 words about multicast ABR before we jump into this. So it uses ABR. So HLS and Dash, so chunks of video referenced by a manifest file, obviously, and it combines ABR with multicast, right? And you may know multicast from, the days of IPTV, sort of 10, 15 years ago, where we used to move basically video over transport stream format using multicast. Here it's a little bit different. We take ABR and we create basically multicast streams inside the operator's network. And what is interesting here is that we get the best of both worlds, right? We get the versatility of ABR, so the ability to deliver to multi-screen, the targeted advertising, all the great things that comes with ABR, with the quality and the scalability of multicast for live, right? So you end up with something that is very efficient. The reason for that, it's leveraging multicast, right? So it's a set of data streams that travel through the operator's network. It requires obviously a managed network. So this is not for the open internet. It has to be inside an ISP network. But what you get, if you look at the picture here, is a dynamic distribution tree, right? So the distribution is done at the router level, right? So using, functions built into the routers. And it's not using CDN servers, right? That's the big difference. And that's why the technology is very efficient. We believe it's very efficient. We'll get to some numbers in a minute, but that gives us basically the scalability. So we create multicast streams in one of the headends in the network. We use a network to transport those multicast streams with the routers, the routing infrastructure in place with the ISP. And then once it gets to the end user, we basically reverse the process. We take multicast, we terminate multicast, and we have our chunks of ABR available for any of the playback devices, right? So here, Telecom Italia is using it for their live channels, right? The linear channels, and also a set of events. They've done a few interesting things in 4K, the last Winter Olympics, the last Summer Olympics, the French Tennis Open. So all of that is very interesting from an operator standpoint. But today we wanted to share the fact that this can also be leveraged by OTT providers. So we made a little picture here. Maybe Romy, if you want to explain it from your point of view, how it works across this complicated ISP networks from the DAZN point of view.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And to go into the scene a bit more and as to why we're here and why Tim opened this up to us. We want to work in here. In 2021, we were awarded the rights to Italy's Serie A football league, which is soccer, for those of you joining in American, and the top league in Italy. So we have the challenge here of trying to deliver that at OTT scale, a right that was traditionally on a satellite platform. So we've got a challenge here, how we do that in all sorts of efficient ways, not just financially, using resource efficiency and what was achievable effectively on the timescale we have for that. So TIM, largest ISP in Italy and a key partner of ours in this project from the start. So, and coupled with that, we've been talking to Broadpeak for quite a while about this technology and the benefits of it. So naturally, we were keen to support and work with TIM and leverage this out here. Whilst we're immediately available in interested in the playback experience that this would offer us. We always want the best playback experience, but also the way it's achieved, as Xavier has been saying, it's like leveraging existing network equipment and infrastructure and all that. If I'm speaking on behalf of TIM, is avoiding network congestion. It's avoiding spend and development in other areas of fiber networks, deploying multiple CDN unicast servers, which is traditionally it's unicast broadcast. So any ISP is out there to try and mitigate those issues. So that's really what appealed to us. So we've worked with Tim to roll this out, and gives us something to think about and a tool in a box in reducing impact, because naturally if you're leveraging existing resources and avoiding buying new in there, it's reducing impact on energy sources and the world and even the materials that make all that. So I think Xavier has some slides on that next.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. So we do a lot of work with ISPs, right, with telcos, and one thing that becomes clear when it comes to power consumption is the actual distribution element of it. So the networking equipment, the servers associated with video delivery, they represent quite a small part of the total electricity budget, right? We basically have figures from some of the telco basically showing that it's inside the home that we consume a lot of energy. It's also in the access network, things like mobile networks, RAN, they consume a lot of energy. Here, when it comes to the distribution part of video, telcos estimate it's about 10% of the total electricity consumption, right? So we can work on this part because this is our scope, but obviously we need a broader engagement to have a meaningful impact. But our level, we've made some models here. The first thing to know is obviously streaming is growing, like in the case with the Serie A in Italy. This is content that moved away from broadcast into streaming. So obviously live streaming is growing and is going to continue to grow. So this is what we estimate here in red, the current live streaming course with basically a lot more energy that is going to be consumed over time. And we basically developed two models here with alternative ways of delivering the content. One is through caching inside the ISP. So we can already get, I think, about 45% reduction by caching the content inside the ISP. Here we assume, a CDN for live working very well with a cache hit ratio at about 90%. And, we can dive into the numbers if you are interested in this, but that's, something that we see and we think work well. And then beyond that, the further reduction you see here with multicast ABR going all the way down to an 80% reduction, again, on the 10% of the, the total consumption that we can have an impact on, that's down to multicast, because again, multicast doesn't need a CDN to be built against the capacity. And that's typically where power is being consumed today, the fact that you need the capacity in place, whether you are using it or not. And here, because multicast is dynamic, we don't consume so much power. We don't have to build that capacity. So here we can remove basically those big peaks of traffic within the network, and we can reduce the CDN capacity needed inside those networks. So this is our models. Obviously, we're going to need to put that to the test, and that's something we'll talk towards the end. But yeah, going forward, we believe there are multiple ways of delivering the content. And maybe Robin, if you want to share your perspective on what are the different tools and ways you're thinking, that's probably going to be useful for the audience here.
Oh, well, let me just preface, sustainability isn't my day job, but it's a subject massively close to my heart, and the reason we want to be part of Greening of Streaming Forum to understand, the initiatives out there, what we can do, how we measure it, and do that, because we're open to all possibilities. We're using a variety of tools in delivery there, from the naturally shared global CDN infrastructure there to dedicated caching technology. And Ian and Varnish talk about getting the most bang for buck out of the servers that are out there. Another way is filling them with more usage, not having to install the same thing again for another company. Why have a half full super tanker sailing out there when you could already fit half your cargo on there as well, and make one journey on that one. So really what I'm trying to say is we're really open to that, and really mindful of that juxtaposition between performance features and dedicating that for yourself, yet sharing that out. So how do you balance that? Is what I'm keen to understand there, and across our toolbox, and working with internet service providers, technology providers, people in this forum here, is to understand those. My door is open to this, and what we should be doing to be mindful and have this as top of everyone's consciousness as we move forward in the streaming and the greening of that journey.
Great. Yeah, and I think maybe just to wrap it up, right, the next step for us is to do a real life study, because the theory, the models we develop is interesting, but the truth is in the pudding, right, like they say. So we want to do this study with a partner like TIM, because Telecom Italia has the various tools that Robin is mentioning. So the global CDN, the DAZN Edge, the TIM CDN, the TIM Multicast ABR. And we're hoping to be able to bring TIM also to the greening of streaming. So that's a conversation we're going to have at IBC in the coming days. And hopefully we think we can do this real life target in the next 6 months. So stay tuned. We hopefully have more information in the next session.
Great, thanks everyone. Thanks, JV. Great also to see that the collaboration is being extended with Tim. So good to see the collaboration growing. Well, thank you all for the panelists for the sessions. I'd like to give it back to Dom. We're a little
cool, awesome. Adam and I were just back chatting here. The collaboration sessions were absolutely central to today. It was, Greening Streaming is all about that collaboration, and those were hard and fast hitting.